You keep mentioning the expression, the supreme rock god of the Kaaba. What do you mean by that?
Well, when Muhammad finally subjugated the Quraysh tribe and ordered the destruction of about 360 gods and goddesses in the year 632 AD, he left only one stone unmolested in the Kaaba. Most Muhammadan Muslims have never been told or are ignorant of the following fact, as recorded in the tradition of the Arabs themselves, that the holiest rock of the Kaaba has always been and still is what they call the black stone, a meteorite that was venerated by the pagan Arabs centuries before Muhammad Islamized it by wrapping it up with a new and totally concocted historical and theological background that he plagiarized, plundered, pirated, and perverted from the Bible. It would have been inconceivable and utterly illogical for the pagan Arabs not to have a representation of their supreme rock god. It was because the black stone represented the spiritual home of the supreme rock god of the pagan Arabs that Muhammad, who according to the ahadith actually venerated it, had no choice but to keep it, the black stone.
Will you please tell me why you use the expressions Muhammad's Quran instead of just the Quran and Muhammadan Muslims?
Because what has eluded the understanding of most of humanity is that there is not a single letter, let alone a word, a sentence, a paragraph, or a chapter in the whole of the Quran that could have been revealed by any merciful and compassionate divinity. The Quran contains no mercy or compassion towards any human being, not even if they are followers of Muhammad. It is very important that the listeners should know that the greatest enemy, threat, and scourge of Muhammad and Islam is knowledge, and that the best friend, aid, supporter, and savior of Muhammad and Islam is ignorance. Hence, based entirely upon the Islamic sources themselves, in the Quran, in the Ahadith, and in the literature of the Muslim exegetes, I can assert that without a shadow of a doubt, and in reality, every letter, every word, every ayah, paragraph, and surah in the Quran is actually the product of Muhammad's fervent imagination, reflecting his personal thoughts, his fears, his hatreds, his lust, his anger, his jealousy, his needs, and his ideas. The Quran, in short, is Muhammad's own alter ego, projected into the unsuspecting mouth of Allah, the supreme rock god of the Quraysh, embedded in the corner wall of the Kaaba, called the Black Stone. As far as I know, rocks, whether black, meteorites, or gems, do not and cannot inspire human beings with revelations. That is why I repeatedly mention Muhammad's Quran, since he was its author. And in fact, Muhammad, Gabriel, and Allah are one and the same, Muhammad, with Gabriel and Allah as red herrings to give his words divine sanction. I mention Muhammad and Muslims because they follow the cult of Muhammad. Muhammadan Islam is not a religion, but only a cult. In the Oxford Dictionary, religion is the belief in the divine. Cult is the belief and in emulation of a human being. Both the Quran and the Ahadith assert and instruct, especially the males of Muhammadan Islam, to slavishly emulate the deeds, thoughts, manners, and ideas of Muhammad, since he represented the perfect male human being. This, by and of itself, represents cultism. Most important of all, there is not a single decent idea in the Quran that has not been plagiarized, pirated, plundered, and or perverted from the beliefs of others. The only new items in it are the enormous number of hate-mongering, war-mongering, torture, and hellish verses that permeate most of its pages. When Muhammad conquered Mecca in 631 AD, he allegedly entered the Kaaba and destroyed the 360 idols in its precincts, shouting, "Falsehood is destroyed, truth prevails." Muhammad, as was his modus operandi, imitated and acted up parts which belonged to the Hebrew, Israelite, and Jewish leaders. In the case above, Muhammad was imitating the greatest exemplar of monotheism, Abraham, who according to Jewish traditions destroyed the idols of his father's household. Sahih al-Bukhari hadith 4.447 narrated by Aisha. I stuffed for the Prophet a pillow decorated with pictures of animals which looked like a namruqa, i.e. small cushion. He came and stood among the people with excitement apparent on his face. I said, "O Allah's Apostle, what is wrong?" He said, "What is this pillow?" I said, "I have prepared this pillow for you so that you can recline on it." He said, "Don't you know that angels do not enter a house wherein there are pictures? And whoever makes a picture will be punished on the day of resurrection and will be asked to give life to what he has created." Sahih al-Bukhari hadith 8.130 narrated by Aisha. The Prophet entered upon me while there was a curtain having pictures of animals in the house. His face got red with anger, and then he got hold of the curtain and tore it to pieces. The Prophet said, "Such people as paint these pictures will receive the severest punishment on the day of resurrection." Al-Tirmidhi hadith 6182 narrated by Aisha. Gabriel brought a picture of her on a piece of green silk to Allah's messenger and said, "This is your wife in this world and the next." Muhammad forbade any human or animal representations whatsoever in emulation of the Torah prohibitions as mandated in Exodus 20.4. "You shall not make yourself a carved image, nor any likeness which is in the heavens above, or on the earth below, or in the waters beneath the earth." Muhammad, who went into paroxysms of rage and disgust at seeing pictures of humans or animals, but was not the least perturbed when a sexual fantasy picture of his child bride-to-be was shown to him. Sahih al-Bukhari 5.584 narrated by Ibn Abbas. When Allah's Apostle arrived in Mecca, he refused to enter the Kaaba while there were idols in it. So he ordered that they be taken out. The pictures of the prophets Abraham and Ishmael holding arrows of divination in their hands were carried out. The Prophet said, "May Allah ruin them," that is the infidels, for they knew very well that they, i.e. Abraham and Ishmael, never drew lots by these divination arrows. Then the Prophet entered the Kaaba and said, "Allahu Akbar," in all his directions, and came out and did not offer any prayer therein. This is a very interesting and incriminating story, since it does not reflect any reality. It is recorded in all the hadiths that Muhammad visited the Kaaba most of his adult life, long before and long after he declared his prophethood. Why then did he not see or remark upon these alleged pictures before? Why is there no mention of these pictures in the Quran? In fact, why did he not refuse to enter the Kaaba during these 22 years of his life? According to Ibn Ishaq, concerning the satanic verses incident, Muhammad prostrated in the Kaaba with his followers and with the polytheists. Nowhere in all the hadiths is there a single occasion when Muhammad refused to either enter or circumambulate the Kaaba. Like most of the traditions after his death, counted in the hundreds of thousands, they were concocted by his followers to fit in with their different sects and agendas and have little veracity in them, as Bukhari, Muslim and others found out during their collections of the ahadith. We have shown once again how it is almost impossible to accept the veracities of either the Quranic verses that contradict the Bible or the hadiths that contradict each other, as well as the very records of Muhammadan Islam.